are. It's happy hour wherever you are at home.
Yeah, so we're here with last year's champion, the one and only Ryan Sands. Yes, you've had quite an interesting history here at the race, having run in one of the most incredible battles in race history against Timothy Olson the year he broke the record, running one of the fastest times ever. Then you had some adversity, having to drop out of the race before you even started in 2015 with a stomach bug, having flown all the way from Cape Town. And then finally coming back last year and winning the race. Maybe talk a little bit about how satisfying that was, and are you happy you don't have to put yourself through it again this weekend?
Yeah, I think like Western States will always be part of my blood and kind of my DNA, or like I'm kind of frothing not to be racing on Saturday a little bit, but it's cool to be a part of the race and kind of pacing. And I guess I at least only have to run the last 60 Ks. It's not the full race, but
so you're doing Forest Hill all the way to the finish line?
Yeah, that's the plan if I can keep up with Francis.
Don't get dropped.
I think last year was definitely like just a really magical day for me and one of the best days of my life. And I think like part of the reason maybe not coming back this year, apart from being completely smashed from the Himalaya project, was thinking that I couldn't better last year and just like match that day. But I think just being back here now again, I realize I want to be back. It's just something so unique and special about this race.
So just talk a little bit about last year's race, because it was sort of historically difficult conditions, and you managed to run I think 16 hours and 20 minutes on a day where almost everybody was an hour and 15 hour and 20 minutes slower than they usually run on the course. So theoretically it could have been equivalent to about a 15-hour race, which is mind-bogglingly fast. How hard of a day was it for you, and how hard was it for you to be chasing Jim for 80 miles or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's definitely like I was destroyed from the river onwards. One of the toughest day of my life from a running point of view. Luckily, like from the start, I think I ran side by side with Jim for about 200 or 300 meters, and then I asked him if he's still going for sub 40, and he said like hell yeah baby, and off he went. So he was so far ahead. I didn't even think about him. I knew he was either going to have like a magical day or I was going to pass him somewhere completely destroyed, and luckily it was the latter. So from that point of view, like I started and I just knew it was one of those days. I was feeling really, really good again, and just everything felt pretty smooth, and it was just about pacing and running my own race and really trying to look after myself in the heat. I think it's so crucial for this race, and not getting too far ahead of myself. And like I think I got into Forest Hill and Jim was nearly an hour ahead, so I knew it was massive. But some of the feedback I got, I knew it at
well, I saw you there. I remember telling you he looks gassed, but he was an hour ahead of you at that point.
Yeah, I heard he threw up at Forest Hill, and then also even at the 30-mile mark, the aid station after Duncan Canyon.
Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson Flat. I heard he already like sat down, so I knew he must have like pushed pretty hard through the snow, which I try to be a little conservative going through there. So I knew something wasn't right, but yeah, when someone's an hour ahead of you, it's just like a whole nother world.
Can you talk about, one of the things that I saw you do at the race last year that I didn't necessarily see all of the front runners do is slow down and take your time to like get yourself wet. You put ice everywhere. You had like this epic hat and this epic ice bandana that you left aid stations with. Talk about just slowing it down and being methodical about that stuff.
Yeah, I think like the main thing for me was just to try and cool myself down at the aid station. So yeah, I had that Super Mario style kind of ice hat.
I love it. I actually want one.
Yeah, it looks normal when it's not full of ice, but when it's full of ice, it's pretty.
You are Super Mario. You had like the hair to match too.
And then obviously the ice buff and ice in the sleeves. Just really trying to cool myself down because it's just so brutally hot out there. I think the canyon was just baking. I just remember like 1 minute you're feeling fine and the next minute you just hit this hot pocket of air and you just feel like completely knocked out. So yeah, keeping like iced and really like wet the whole day really helped. And
Did you go into the, like there's a couple of places where you can get into water besides the river crossing. Did you take the time to get yourself wet at those places?
Yeah, like mainly it was ice up until the river, but the river crossing I probably didn't spend enough time in the river. I was actually feeling so terrible there, and there were a lot of people around there. I think Brian was there. I was trying to put in a bit of a poker face and just get out of there as quick as possible.
Because Alex was actually really close at that point too.
So that's why I was pretty worried. I had kind of flashbacks of 2012 where I passed Timothy Olsen and then he came steaming past me and I never saw him again. So that was definitely going through my mind. So I tried to get up to Greengate as quick as possible, and those a couple of creeks after Greengate. I got in one or two of them, and my pacer Rainer actually had to kind of drag me out of one. I was pretty happy just to.
I think there's another runner called Killian Jornet who spent a lot of time in one of those
there. I think,
those creeks have a magnetic force.
Well, that's so cool, man, and it's, I mean, just a dream come true, I'm sure, for you to get it done last year. And of course, you're back, and you don't get to just hang out this weekend. You're sort of in a high-pressure situation, facing Francois, who's obviously one of the best in the world, maybe the best of all time at the distance. How did that idea come up? Did he ask you to come, or did Solomon ask you guys to do it together? Or?
Yeah, I was chatting to Greg, our team manager, about my schedule this year, and I was trying to find an excuse just to get back here. So I suggested to him and spoke to Francois earlier this year, and he was like, "Cool, it'd be great to have you part of the team." So yeah, that was kind of my idea to get back here, but yeah, really cool to kind of see how Francois does things.
Do you guys have like strategy, or have you given him like advice about how you've been successful at the race? Because he's had some troubles at the race, and it's rare for him to have troubles. So
yeah, from like a running point of view, not too much, but like from like cooling down and approaching the race, I've tried to kind of impart a bit of knowledge, but Francois needs no kind of intro to antibiotics.
The pacing Forest Hill to the finish is pretty serious business. Like, I'm sure you've had to train for it.
Yeah, I was a little nervous because after Himalayas I've taken it pretty easy. So I'd actually last weekend I did a run with Francois, and we went out in the first part of the course, and I was sucking a little bit of air behind him, and he said it was just an easy jog. But luckily when you're running now down in the canyons and it warms up a little bit, you're kind of a little bit more evenly matched.
Your South African blood starts cooling down as he heats up.
Yeah, and the fact that he's run 100 kilometers already, that'll be a good governor. Well, let's talk a tiny bit about what you have coming up. I know you're going to UTMB at the end of the summer, a race you've had some problems at, some adversity at, and I think you're going to Europe shortly after you leave here. Talk about your preparation going into UTMB. You probably start pretty soon, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so doing UTMB, I need to get my butts into gear, kind of from a running point of view, and start getting some mileage in my legs. So
yeah, you look like you've let yourself go.
Yeah. Slacking. Yeah, I think living in Cape Town, I guess, is a bit like you. Living in San Fran, it's really hard to get like big mountains running in. So yeah, I'm going to do 2 or 3 weeks now after this in Europe, just to try and get a bit of training, and then go back to family, and then head out to UTMB about 2 weeks beforehand. So that's the plan, and next weekend I'll do the Dubai Ultra. It's kind of an ultra out there, up to running, I think it's like 60 Ks with about 6,000 meters of vert. So
that's in France, or?
It's in Austria. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're setting yourself up for a good one.
Yeah.
And, hope you don't have another rough one there.
Well, hopefully I'll make it around the mountain this time.